We're a little bit late, we're already in qualifying. So let me just sort out the stream link and then we'll get going straight into it. No messing about today. Oh, come on. Right, there we go. So, welcome everybody. Let's just sort out everything pretty quickly. So, who it looks like they're at the head of the pack, number 91, that's Scanlon. Bomber is out, fresh from his victory in the ACC race in the charity race for Mind at the weekend. Looks like he'll be the first person due to set a hot lap in his Aston Martin, back in the Aston today. So it looks like every single car's out on the track. It's quite a small track for every car to be out, so there's going to be a lot of traffic, just similar to Laguna Seca really. Kind of expecting similar cars to be good, but Scanlon's going to cross the line to set the first lap. It's going to be a 45.1. Let's scroll down a little bit. Freddie Cabras has just absolutely obliterated that. Let's have a look at Capel. Looks like he's just about to set a lap himself. 2.3 seconds down. Tidswell just actually set an identical time to Cabras, to the 1,000th. That's pretty incredible, but they both just got beaten by Davey, who slots himself up the first man in the 43s today. So we'll see how that time goes down. Let's have a look, see where Morrow is on the track. He's just started his lap. Let's watch him as Sanchez pops himself into 8th. Not a representative lap, I don't think. Steenstra up into 6th and Tierney up into 7th as well. Stratton up into 5th as well, so the Silver guy's doing pretty good here. Fracas 9th, 3.4 seconds off. Looks like Morrow's right behind Capel there, so he might catch him on this lap if Capel makes a little mistake. But at the moment it's still Weatherston, Freddie Cabras, Tiswell, Andy Cabras and Scanlon in the top 5. So Scanlon's first lap only good enough for P5. A lot of drivers must have been validated as well, because we still only have 16 representative times, but only 8 within 2 seconds of the fastest time at the moment. So yeah, Morrow has caught up to the back of Capel, and he actually backs out of his lap. So that is going to be a bit of a disaster for Morrow. He's not going to set a fast lap just yet. Let's have a look at Freivogel, another one who has been contending for pole position. He's just going through that tight chicane there. Probably easy to invalidate there, I'd imagine. Scanlon popping himself up into P4, so he did find an improvement, but still 0.8 off of Weatherston's time. This looks like a neat and tidy lap there for Freivogel so far. Popov, Erotikos pops himself up into 6th, just one position behind Andy Cabras. These two tend to be the quickest of the Silver guys from what we've seen. So interesting to see that they set identical lap time. Salis actually just beats both of them. I'm pretty sure he was in bronze before. He's showing as a Silver driver now. He's in 5th place, showing why they've upgraded him for sure. So here comes Freivogel. Finally, he's going to finish his first representative lap, and it is the fastest lap of qualifying so far, 43.847. Shuffles Davey down into 2nd. Davey is on a lap now, so let's see what Davey could do to respond. He's currently got an identical time to Freddie Cabras now as well. So Freddie popping himself up there, up into 3rd with a good lap time. Something may be wrong with the timings if we've seen 2 sets of identical laps. While he's up there, let's see. So we've still got Morrow, who hasn't set fast lap. He's just behind Davey. just a couple of cars behind. So Davy's going to finish his lap first. Just coming through the final couple of corners now. Lamborghini Huracan. Interesting line. I think he's got a little bit wide at the final corner, so maybe that's going to prevent him from improving. Freddie Cabras has just gone fastest of everyone, a 43.6. Davey still, despite having a bit of a dodgy last corner, has provisional pole. He improves to just a couple of hundredths better than what Freddie Cabras could do, and Morrow will be the next one. He's actually started a lap again, so that must have been an outlap for Morrow. He hasn't still set a representative time. Now that has Maurer, who is, I don't know, he's having a little rest over there. So Tidswell, meanwhile, is in P4. So we got 3 Ferraris in the top 4. That's pretty crazy. I did ask who is the favourite to win tonight, and the response was a Ferrari. But they're all getting beaten at the moment. This is a really good, solid qualifying so far for Davey. I think it's been a little while since he's had pole position. Let's see, is anyone else closer? Let's see if Freddie Cabras can respond as well. He's slowly catching up to the back of Scanlon there. So we've got 2 drivers in the top 7 pretty close together, just finishing their laps. 11 minutes left of qualifying to go, so still quite a lot of time for these guys to improve. I think the times might keep coming down. I don't know if we're going to get another 42s. 610s might be a little bit too much. So Scanlon doesn't improve. Freddie Cabras also doesn't improve. Andy Winters is up into 5th place. Tidswell doesn't improve. He stays 4th. Now I got Weatherston just about to finish another lap. Still right behind Capel. He doesn't improve either. Capel is 13th at the moment. Morrow has finally set a lap. He's up into 2nd place. I reckon he's going to continue on. So that's where we expected him to be. Just half a tenth down on Davies' time. Davies in the pits, so he's restocking. Looks like Morrow went... Well, actually, that must be the racing line around here. To go very, very wide on the exit of the first corner. Pretty much almost completely off track. And it looks like the game lets you get away with that. Freivogel up into 3rd now. He's just nudged Freddie down a position. Andy Cabras, sorry, has just gone up to P3 as well. So yeah, the times are definitely tumbling down. We now have 5 out of the top 6 drivers in Ferrari. Tomorrow's looking for at least half a tenth here to take provisional pole off of Davey. Davey is still sat in the pits, so he's not in a rush to go back out at the moment. So he's not really had any traffic, which is good. He maybe was potentially a little bit distracted there. There's another car getting out of his way as well. So he's going to take a bit of a wide entry and then hooks the apex on the exit to get a good slingshot out of the final corner. And it does not look like an improvement for Morrow. Andy Cabras, silver driver, definitely showing... immense gold pace here. He was setting similar times to Eroticos earlier on. He's now almost 1.1 seconds ahead of his nearest silver rival. Looks like Steve's just popped himself up into 9th there. Scanlon down to 11th now. What can Andy Cabras do here? He's already on a very good lap. He hasn't improved this time. Freivogel's just at the start of his lap. The other Cabras. We also have 4 art drivers in the top 5. So they've all found a pretty solid setup because They're all within 3/10 of each other. And right at the front. But Freddie's at the back of this little group of ART drivers. He's looking for about 4/10 if he wants to get provisional pole here. So what can he do? He's been improving pretty much every lap that he's been out. Not this time round though. So Weatherston's on an out lap as well. Morrow's just starting a new lap. He hasn't been improving. Anyone else near the front about to finish a lap? Not really. Salis might be the first one. He's dropped down to 12th now. He's third in class. He was ahead of Erotikos and Andy Cabras, but they're both firmly ahead of him by some margin. So he's got to find quite a big amount of time here if he wants to progress up the order. And it's not an improvement either. Freivogel still in P4, hasn't improved. Andy Cabras looking for another improvement in a big gaggle of cars, so looks like Capel didn't improve. Fracas just about to cross, hasn't improved. Andy Cabras stays third. And then we've got Stratton, he's just crossed the line, he hasn't improved. What about Davey? Davey must be on his hot lap. This must be midway through his hot lap surely by now. It's like a little bit of a deep entry into that. It's not even a chicane, but it kind of is. Anyway, Tidswell's been falling down. He's failed to improve on his really good lap that he set earlier. Andy Winters has just moved ahead of him now. So people finding like the odd 1 or 2 positions here. No one's finding a huge amount of time. So they're just finding a 10th or 2 when they're beating their laps, which means that everyone must feel like they're pretty close to their optimal pace if they're not able to pull out a massive lap, or they're just making the same or minor mistakes every single time out. Anyway, Davey looks like he's had a pretty tight lap there. Let's see if he can improve on his 43.3. And he hasn't, but he's got loads of clear air in front of him. Actually, he's got a couple of drivers just coming out of the pit lanes now, so let's see. So that looks fine. It might have distracted Davey a little bit though on the corner entry. And then there's another car completely off track here, so it did look like... Oh dear. I don't think he's going to be improving on this lap, but he's got another couple of laps that he can squeeze out of this session. Morrow a little bit further along. Everyone quite early on in the laps. So let's have a look at Morrow. He is he's still incredibly close. He didn't set a lap for a very long time in this session. Then he just pulled this one lap that he's got out of nowhere, and he's failed to beat it every single time. And he's had quite a few laps to do it as well. So let's see what Morrow can do. We only have 4.5 minutes left of this qualifying session. We've got some drivers in the pits probably about to come out to do 1 or 2 hot laps right at the end on low fuel. Looks like Admo Burkhardt just went to the top of bronze class. Morrow doesn't look like he's going to improve this time either. Davey is on a hot lap, but like we said, he's been in a bit of traffic. He's still not through it all. There's one driver ahead of him. So I don't know if he's going to back off a little bit on this lap and try and go again, because he's definitely being compromised there. Andy Cabras coming right up the back as well of the car in front. So yeah, no improvements that we can see as they start another lap. They're going to have maybe 2 laps left here. Freddie just starting a lap. Tidswell's just finished a lap. He's still in... well, actually, he's retaken 6th place. So he's the last driver within half a second of Davies' best time. Then the gaps are quite big. Another 2/10 down to Andy. Another 6/10 down to Rotikos in P8. There's a huge gap for some of these drivers a bit lower down. to pop themselves into in the top 8, because no one's there's a big gap in performance tonight, bigger than usual, I'd say, which I'm a bit surprised, because this is a track that people usually know. You know, most people have played the F1 games, quite a staple around there. Let's see, Morrow's dropped down to 30. He's dropped behind Freivogel, so Freivogel finding another good lap there. Morrow has to respond now. He's got Andy Winters ahead of him, who he's probably not going to catch, so he's pretty well positioned. Actually, he's going to get another 2 laps in after this if he's got the fuel for it. And he does go into provisional pole now, 43.127, just under 2/10 quicker than Davey now. Davey has to respond. He's got another few corners left on his lap. He's now quite a way behind Morrow. He's got to find quite a lot of time on this lap. And Morrow's just found a lot. Yeah, he's found a lot there. I think that's a good quarter of a second in that lap that he's found. And Davey's going to have to try and find something similar. And he has improved, but he's still a 10.5 off of Morrow's time. And they're both starting to gap Freivogel, who's just finishing another lap, but he does not improve. Andy Cabras starting a new lap, as is Freddie. Tidswell is in the pits. Andy's in the pits. Let's see if Erotikos can respond. He's got to find at least 6/10 on Andy. There's a big gap now. And Scanlon's actually behind him as well. So Scanlon's probably got a little bit more time in him. So what can he do? He's in P8 at the moment, second in class. A little bit wide. Is that going to be an invalidation? Potentially. He doesn't improve anyway. Scanlon is still in the pits. So qualifying is pretty much finished for a few of these people. We've got Steenstra in P10 just rounding the corner just ahead of Morrow. These are going to be able to do one final lap. Steenstra doesn't improve. What about Morrow? He finds even more time. He's in the 42s. So we did end up getting in the 42s. That's a fantastic lap. I'm not sure anyone's going to be able to beat that, but Davey's still out. He's going to be able to respond, but he's got to find a huge amount of time now. Freivogel's improved as well, but he's still behind Davey just by 0.07 of a second. So last couple of corners for Davey. What can he do? It's not an improvement. He crossed the line with 8 seconds left though, so he is going to get a final lap. Actually, he's completely out. He must be out of fuel, and that is qualifying over for Davey. Freivogel actually just beats him by 1/10 of a second. He goes into P2, nowhere near enough to beat Morrow's time. Morrow's still out trying to set another lap, so he might even beat his time again. We still have the Cabras brothers. They haven't been improving, but they still have one more lap to go. Erotikos is the last one who could potentially improve in the top 10. Yeah, the checkered flags come down, so this is definitely the last laps for everybody. And he doesn't improve. What can Morrow do? He's the next one. And he's come in the pits. Turty will be the next one to try and improve. He's down in 17th at the moment. 2.6 seconds off of pole time. And is this going to be an improvement right at the end? It is not. Stratton. Next up, he's in P16, 2.4 seconds back. Needs to find at least a couple of tenths here. He does improve, but only by 1/10 of a second. And there we have it. So, overall, we got Morrow in P1. He only set one of the fastest sector times, though. Davey had one of the fastest, and Freddie Cabras had the fastest final sector, so that's interesting. So yeah, he had a 0.2 of a second gap on Freivogel. Then we had Davey, Then we have Freddie Cabras, Andy Cabras, very close together in times now. Tidwell in 6th. Andy Winters in the Mustang 7th, Rotokos 8th, Scanlon 9th, and Steedstra in 10th. Pole position in silver was Andy Cabras. Pole position in bronze is Burkhart just ahead of Sanchez and Van Hall. Very close, actually. The bronze guys. They're all grouped together for the race as well, apart from Mauro, who's starting last. And then a little bit of a mix between the golds and the silvers. A lot of the golds have been beaten by 1 or 2 silvers, at least. So yeah. Predictions for the race, let's see. All Ferrari podium, that's my prediction. And that'll be Mauro, Freivogel, and Freddie Cabras. That'll be my podium shout. What a shame for Davey, though. I thought he was going to get pole position there. Mauro has been very greedy this season in qualifying. We actually don't have a full grid today. Only 24. So good points on offer for everyone now, if they just make it to the end. Especially if you could just stay on the lead lap. Especially for the bronze boys. Because you could be 3 seconds off the pace and still in the top 20. What am I getting tagged in? So, who's really out of position in qualifying? Andy Cabras is a lot higher than he usually is. He's usually around about maybe 10th, 11th, 12th. So that's a that's maybe the highest he's ever qualified. Everyone else, I think Rotokos has beaten that before. Salis in P11, maybe that's his best qualifying as well. Not sure. I don't think we've seen him that high up. Stratton's quite new in P16. I think he could get a top 10 out of today. Burkhart's qualifying is probably... I don't think he's ever had class pole before, unless it was in the race that I missed. So that's very impressive. It looks like Blocker's actually behind Mauro, so I'm not sure what happened. If he's joined late, potentially, maybe that's it. So he's just starting at the back. Right, we've got half a minute to go until we start our warm-up lap. Looks like the servers are letting us, well, they're cooperating a bit better than on Saturday, where we were stuck on the wrong screen, but...
10 seconds.
Not a great turnout in the crowds today. I'd say that would be about 10% maximum, maybe 5% capacity in the grandstand behind. We need to advertise ALR in Hungary a bit better, clearly. Alright, here we go. So we got, like I said, 5 Ferraris in the top 6. Hello, Jill. So this is definitely Ferrari territory. Actually, who's who should be disappointed with the qualifying considering it's Ferrari? Probably Capel. Capel usually qualifies quicker than 14th, and he's down there when all the other Ferraris. He's been out qualified by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other Ferraris, and a bunch of cars that are supposedly slower than it. So yeah, and he's last of all the gold drivers. Oh dear. Looks like the Aston's doing not as great as they usually do as well. Just completely out of class. I think the Mustang getting a P7 here is pretty impressive, to be honest. I wouldn't have thought anyway that this would be a track that the Mustang would enjoy. Soul Huracan on the grid. It's actually a good car. I don't know why it's not being used more. Davy's definitely having a much better season in the Huracan than he did in his previous couple of seasons, driving worse cars essentially. But yeah, it does seem like the Ferrari is heads and shoulders above every other car. And it's interesting because in ACC you get a completely free choice of car every season. So if you just want to be in the best car all the time, you just stay in the Ferrari every season. The cars are always quite well. They all handle fairly differently as well. So it can, well, some drivers just don't like learning from scratch again and having to regain their pace when they already have it in another car. But it can create situations where everyone's in the same car in the top 6. Hello, Zap. So now is the point where it starts getting interesting. Everyone's going to start lining up 2 by 2. A rolling start, but what we have today, 24 drivers will be hurtling down into a hairpin at turn 1 at maximum speed. What could go wrong? What will go wrong? Let's find out. So it's all about who reacts quickest to the green light signal. As soon as we get every car onto the main straight, will be green, and yeah, everyone's got to make sure that they're in double file as well. No veering into the middle, ready to do an overtake. You have to stay in your position, or else you get a warning. The game gives you warnings. If you get a certain number of warnings, you get drive-throughs. So, any minute now, here we go. We're going. Looks like a good start from Morrow and from Freivogel. Looks like Freivogel's actually got himself ahead of Morrow. It looks like we're 3 or 4 wide going into turn 1. This is going to be very tight. Morrow on the inside. Freivogel trying to go around the outside of his teammate. And it looks like everyone makes it through there from the front. Let's go all the way to the back and see. It looks like everyone's making it through the back as well. One driver or two struggling at the exit of turn 1. But right at the front, we've got Morrow ahead of Freivogel, ahead of Davy. So it's as you were from the start. Everyone making it through a one piece, but we've got a little bit of a battle going on a bit further back. As everyone's just going through the sector lines, jumbling up the order a bit. Oof, that purple car, that was Steenstra going very wide, trying to avoid people. And Erotica's having a little battle here with, potentially with Cabras right now. So Cabras is shuffled back and Eroticos has moved himself up a little bit. We got Morrow at the front, really defending at this point against Freivogel. So Freivogel looking like he's got a lot of pace. We've got the number 53 car all the way at the back. That's Ammo. He's had a bad start after qualifying highest of all the bronze drivers. Hopefully he's not got any damage and can just carry on. So going through the grid just down here, we've got we've got a little go. Okay, Stratton's trying to make up some ground. He's dropped outside the top 20, got a very damaged car, just overtakes Blocker there. That was quite a brave lunge. Let's see what's happening. Oh, they're still battling side by side around here as well. And through goes the BMW. That was quite a good overtake there. Back at the front, Morrow still has P1. He's just been ahead enough at the braking point. And again, I think it's going to be like in F1 before they had DRS, or even now, to be honest. Difficult for overtakes to happen unless people make mistakes. Davey holding off Freddie Cabras pretty well here. Andy Winters in P5 holding off Andy Cabras. And yeah, he's starting to head quite a long train there. Davey struggling as well a little bit against Freddie here. He's not keeping up with Morrow and Freivogel at the moment. He's dropped to over a second behind now. So we've got a couple of cars in the pits as well, so they'll be dropping a lap or two down depending on how... Well, it looks like one of them's up and away again. The 139 car. Which is... Oh, 30. Unfortunate. But he's done his mandatory pit stop now. That actually counted as one, so... Oh, very wide there for Morrow. A couple of them going wide, but Morrow went incredibly wide. Potentially a warning there for track limits. And yeah, Morrow started to look a little bit more comfortable, maybe because he gained a little bit of time there. Everyone's starting to gap themselves a little bit. Andy really struggling at the moment against Andy Cabras. Andy Winters, that battle of the Andes. And here we might see a little bit of respite for Andy because his Mustang engine is going to kick in and probably prevent Cabras from having a go at him unless Cabras is feeling a little bit brave. And he's not. He had a little look. He just has a little look. That's about it. Davies defending from Freddie Cabras now as well. I did think I saw a little look by Freddie, but again, not close enough yet to have a go. So it's all going to kick off here soon because it looks like Andy is really struggling. He's dropped to 2.5 seconds off of Freddie Cabras now, so he's definitely holding up Andy Cabras, Eroticos, and then there's Tidswell Scanlon, all very close to each other as well. Then there's a little gap to Spectre. Davey starting to drop Freddie Cabras a little bit there, so Freddie potentially going wide on one of the corners, losing a bit of time. Winters really struggling around some of these corners. His car's just not turning in. He's actually done well to get this car there because it looks like it's completely uncooperative right now. But he's still at the head of the train. He's not losing any more time to Freddie Cabras as well, so maybe he's just settled in a bit. Morrow with the fastest lap, and he is 1.2 ahead of Freivogel. Freivogel staying close enough. He's keeping him honest, but Morrow does have breathing space here. Andy Winters dropped to 2.9 seconds behind, so he is definitely losing time. Cabras is thinking about going for it, and he backs out. And it looks like he's just taking the corner much better, but loses traction on the exit. Andy might be under a little bit of pressure from Eroticos here as a result. But the next corner comes just a little bit too soon, and Andy can recover and try and hunt down Winters. Let's have a little look at what's happening further down. Sanchez is leading bronze class. He's at the head of this little battle of drivers. In P14. It's got Maura dropping down the order, I think, that is. And he's a few positions ahead of Van Hall down in P17. And then Fracas is in P19 doing a solid job at the moment as well. Cabras still stuck right behind Winters. Must be no more than a couple of tenths in it going down here. Yeah, 2 tenths down. Just needs to keep putting Andy under pressure, basically. Start positioning your car in unusual positions. Distract him a little bit. those are the tactics you need to start employing if they're just being too solid and too consistent, really. I mean, you got to do something because he dropped another second on Freddie Cabras that lap. The top four are completely away at the moment. It's going to be really difficult to see anyone else finishing in the top four now. And there's a little bump around the corner. Oh no. So, Andy Cabras is off track somewhere. He's spinning around turn 1 still, as he's dropped about 6, 7, 8 positions. He did come into contact with Andy. So, a bit of an avoidable contact, but he was the one that lost out. He's not 6th anymore, that's for sure. Andy's got a Rotikos behind him now. Andy Cabras is dropping, as everyone's going around the sector times, he's going to drop to 14th position, I think. 13th. He got away with 13th. So that is seven spots because of that contact in turn 1 between Andy and well, the two Andys basically. Now Eroticos looks like he's got a bit of speed on him as well. He's the one that's starting to put Andy under pressure. So Andy is still at the head of this train that contains Popov, Tidswell and Scanlon. And Elite Spectre has joined the back of it now as well. Meanwhile, at the front, Morrow's gapped 1.7 seconds on Freiburgel, so he's starting to get... Well, he's just eking out tenths at a time. Davey and Freddie Cabras are keeping up with them, but they're just losing the odd tenth here and there. Right, Eroticos has a really good run here. He'll be thinking about the overtake. Potentially, you can move alongside under braking if you're brave enough. And yeah, nothing he can do this time. He's now 6 seconds off the back of Freddie Cabras. So there's definitely, it feels like there's two different classes of racing going on. The top four and everyone else. And he's worked his way up to, Andy Cabras is recovering up to 12th now. He's got 6 seconds to close the gap down to Capel though. God, it's hard to believe we're only 10 minutes into this race. Quite a lot's actually happened. Oh, and he's got the chicane very badly wrong. This might give Eroticos a chance. Again, the next corner just comes far too quickly for the cars to be able to do anything. Oh, very wide exit there by one of the drivers. I think that might have been Scanlon. So the most important corner on the track is probably this one. It looks like Andy's gone a bit wide through the corner. Eroticos gone very wide on the exit to try and get as much speed as possible. Looks like he's going to be a little bit too far away once again to have a go at Andy into turn 1. So yeah, Andy just not making any mistakes here, and no one's able to get past him as a result. And Eroticos makes a mistake on the exit. He's going to potentially lose this position to Tidswell now. Through goes the Ferrari on the inside. And he's going to be able to do it. Eroticos gives him the space. And Eroticos might shuffle down behind Scanlon now as well. Scanlon's going to try and get past. They're both a bit compromised through that corner. Eroticos goes wide again. He might be getting track limit warnings every time he's doing this. Depends if he's been gaining time, but he is still competitive whilst he's going through these corners. But he has kept ahead of Scanlon, so he's just dropped down 1 position to 7th. Andy Winter's bit of breathing space. Tidswell now will be the next one to try his luck at overtaking Andy. The last two drivers it's not fared so well. Let's see what's going on a bit further down. So it's like Stratton, with his pretty badly damaged car, is still battling through in P16. He's he's left Sanchez, who's now just ahead of Van Hall. That's Van Hall behind him, the number 83 car. Here's Turty. He's made his pit stop. I think he's probably had to fix his car. It looks sparkly and new now. So they're multiple laps down. That's why there's no time showing up for those. Actually, let's have a quick look at the timetable, see how many laps back they are. Oh, Tierney's still on the same lap as quite a few drivers, actually. Andy's made his pit stop, so he's got a good shot at top 20 still. And yeah, Admo, we have to wait and see what happens to everyone else. We're going to start entering, well, the pit phase maybe in 10 minutes. We might see our first pit stop. Davy's lost a bit of time. He's made a mistake somewhere. He's now only 0.6 of a second ahead of Freddie Cabras. So another potential period of pressure coming for Davy. Tidswell catching up to the back of Andy now, so this is going to be the next big battle. Orotko's dropped off the back as well now. After his, well, maybe he's just lost a little bit of confidence because these guys are starting to gap him a little bit. He needs to catch up to the back of Tidswell pretty soon, or else he'll start coming under a bit of pressure from Scanlon. But he's not under pressure at the moment. So crossing the start-finish line, Tidswell is now 0.6 of a second behind Winters. He needs to close in a little bit more on this lap and maybe have a go on the next start-finish straight. Davy losing even more time. He's now 4.2 off the back of Freivogel, so Davy is in a bit of trouble at the moment. His chances of victory are slipping away very quickly here. Let's see what is next. He's lost another 1/10 of a second there, so he's definitely gone off the boil. Potentially fuel saving, maybe that's a factor. But yeah, if he's losing a 1/10 or 2 every single sector, this is going to be bad news for his chances of catching either Freivogel or Morrow before the end of the lap. Freivogel dropped to 2.1 seconds off of Morrow, so yeah, make that 2.2. So he's only about averaging 0.2 of a second down on Morrow throughout the race. Here comes Freddie Cabras. He's definitely got a bit of a run on Davy here if he wants to take it. He's not going to do it this time around. Davy takes the corner pretty fine there. What about Andy? Andy coming under a bit more pressure from Tidswell now. And Tidswell, again, it looks like everyone just has a little look. It's because Andy turns in a lot later than all the other drivers for that corner. So, yeah, still solidly in P5. Oh, something's going on. I don't know why it was going so slow, but yeah. Down at P13 for Salis. Davey started to create some daylight between himself and Freddie Cabras. Andy not doing as well at creating a gap with Tidswell. Tidswell still ready to take advantage of any little mistake that Andy makes, so he needs to get a little bit closer to the back of Andy's car, though. He's not putting him under the intense pressure that he was under with the last couple of cars. Maybe Tidswell's just content here, sitting behind Andy for now. He could be potentially fuel saving himself or saving his tyres. But yeah, someone in this group is going to decide to pit early to try and get out of all the traffic and start getting some solid laps in, because you could potentially jump 6 to 7 cars in the pit phase if you get the pit stop right. Especially if you're confident that you can lap a bit quicker than what Andy's doing. But Andy's dropped to 11.7 behind Freddy Cabras now. What's going on in the fight for bronze? Here's Sanchez, just behind him is Van Hall. So these two very close together, doing pretty good there. Bayliss not too far behind either. Bracker's dropped a position. This car's starting to look a little bit battered as well. Here we go. This is the closest Tidswell's been. Andy's going for it. He has to back out at the last second. Andy's out of position now as a result, though, and Tidswell can stay close. Rotico's about to join the party as well. Five cars, all incredibly close together here, all the way back to Spectre. It looks like Andy's managed to negotiate the infield pretty well. Now, Tidswell struggled a little bit in the middle of that corner, lost a bit of time, and Eroticos struggled at the exit of the corner, which has allowed Scanlon to pull alongside. Eroticos has to go defensive here, and Scanlon's fancying a position. Eroticos is going to be out of position in this corner. Scanlon's going to go the long way around. And they're still side by side. Spectre is now side by side with Scanlon, and Scanlon's trying to get back alongside Eroticos. Eroticos goes defensive, keeps the position, and no one actually changes positions at the end of all that fighting. It's not over yet, though. Scanlon trying something. Eroticos completely shuts the door on him and keeps P7 and keeps everyone behind. So that just goes to show any tiny mistake can create a battle that lasts for about half a lap, which is exactly what happened there. Just a little mistake from Roticos on the exit. Now Ben is completely cutting that chicane compared to Andy, and just gained a good few tenths of a second in the process. So now he's just got to stay this close until the straight and try and pray that Andy makes a little mistake on the final corner. Looks like Steenstra and Andy Cabras are joining this train of cars now as well, so it goes all the way down from P5 to P11, this group. And then there's a huge gap after that. So yeah, the top four, and then there's a big gap, and then there's 5th to 11th, then there's another big gap, and then again it's fairly close after that. But Andy Cabras has finally joined the back of this group. He was at the front of it battling Andy Winters, but they had at that instant in turn 1. A little bit deep there for Tidswell. And everyone taking the corner pretty well there. Looks like Steenstra is under a little bit of pressure from Andy Cabras, who's trying to get another position back now. Roticos is starting to come under more pressure. He's the second off of Tidswell now. So the more that these cars fight, the more that gaps will start forming between them. I'm expecting to see some drive-through penalties as well. I'm noticing a lot of drivers going fully off the track at a lot of these corners, and it doesn't look like the normal racing line because a lot of them aren't doing it as well. So some of these guys right at the front might fall afoul of that. We've seen it happen a lot in ALR. I'm predicting it'll happen more than usual here. Oops. Morrow is just finishing his 12th lap now. And he's gapped Freivogel up to 2.9 seconds. And Davey is feeling a little bit more comfortable ahead of Freddie. He's gapped him by another second now, so the stint's starting to come back to him. Then just coming into the final corner now is Andy. Everyone has closed in again. There's not going to be any overtakes this time around. Oh, Rotikos nearly loses it again. This is going to be another chance potentially for Scanlon. No, he's a little bit too far back himself. So it wasn't as punishing, that little slide. Oh, here comes Steedstra and Andy Cabras. Andy trying to go the long way round. Steedstra has the inside line here, which becomes the outside line. Andy's going to chuck it in. There is... Wow. That was a great overtake. I can't believe there wasn't contact. That was crazy. Right. Overtake of the season contender, that one. You start by trying to go around the outside, which becomes the inside. You absolutely chuck it in there. And you get away with it. No damage to either car. I think that was millimeter perfect. It could have gone so wrong. And now Andy back in the top 10. A little bit of damage on his front after his collision with Andy Winters. He's got Spectre 1.9 seconds ahead of him. We've got this big long train that Andy is at the head of, which Cabras will be trying to get ahead of at some point. We are 35 minutes in, so 5 minutes before the halfway point. Wondering if anyone behind Andy will decide to come in and try and get an undercut. Try and get some clear air, more importantly. Popov is, and Scanlon is as well. So, two people, the first two of the front runners to come in. Will they come out in clear air? That's the big question. If they can, I think they both have a good chance of finishing in the top 5. Steestra's followed them in as well. Here's a bunch of more drivers. Looks like Capel's up in P12 at the head of this battle. Sally's P14 just behind Oliver. Everyone's very close together. So they're all going to get promoted into the top 10 with the cars in the pits. Stratton goes in the pits as well. He's got a lot of damage, so I'm assuming he's going to take this opportunity to fix it. And then a lot of other drivers carrying on. Tierney is the highest placed driver who's pit, but he wasn't doing too good before, so I think Popov and Scanlon are going to come out ahead of them. Spectre was off track there when we joined him, so that's why he's dropped 2.1 seconds off of Tidswell now. Tidswell's still stuck behind Andy Winters. This might not be the best strategy for Andy. Looks like Steedstra's got ahead of Eroticos, and Scanlon is ahead of both of them. So Scanlon's done the best here. Let's see, there's a stop-go penalty for Eroticos, so that is his hopes of a top 10 finish completely and well and truly over. Scanlon's come out ahead of the number 33 car, Steedstra, and ahead of... Well, actually, they're not too far away from being lapped. That's a very long pit lane. But crucially for Scanlon, he's got some clear air for a little bit. Then he's got some lapped cars to overtake by the looks of it. So I think this could work out well for him. Andy is still out. Oh, Andy's just come in the pits. He's just... oh dear. He lost the position to Tidswell, and he might have given him speeding in the pit lane penalty, potentially. There was definitely contact on the pit entry between Tidswell and Andy. I don't know if that's actually given them damage, but that's not ideal. They're trying to cover off the undercut attempt from Scanlon and Steenstra, especially Scanlon, who's quite a bit ahead of Steenstra. Steenstra's just ahead of Erotikos himself. And look at this, all these lapped cars actually. Scanlon's not in clear air at all, but they are getting out of the way for him by the looks of it. So I'll stick with Scanlon and see if he actually executed this strategy perfectly. He needed to find maybe a second or two, but it looked like he was pretty solid in the pits as well. These guys may have some sort of drive-through penalty from whatever that contact was at the entry to the pits as well. We'll have to wait and see what happens on the pit exit. They're still not showing us green yet. So Tidswell is now. So through goes Scanlon, comfortably ahead. And it looks like Steenstra is getting ahead as well. No stop-go penalty for either of them, so they got away with it. So, yeah, they're behind Steenstra, which we'll see when they all come through. So yeah, they've lost a couple of positions there. Not a good strategy for Tidswell and for Andy, but Tidswell is at least ahead of Andy himself. There we go, it's all filtering out now finally. Yep, and there's Steenstra and there's Tidswell. 3/10 behind Steenstra. So we've got a chance to get the position back. Into the pits now comes Freddy Cabrasso. He's the first of the front runners to come in. He's trying to overtake Davey here. Scanlon absolutely flying now. So it's going to be Scanlon versus whatever Spectre can do. But Spectre's under pressure himself from Andy Cabras, who's decided to stay out. If I was him, I might have been the very first to come into the pits, to be honest. Under a lot of pressure. And yeah, Cabras looks like he's got so much pace around here compared to some of these other drivers. So where does Freddy come out? Freddy's got some clear air. He's got Bayliss ahead of him on track. He stayed ahead, crucially, of Scanlon and all them, but that was a no-brainer. They were really far back. So what can Freddy do? Can he lap quicker than Davey now? That's the question. Davey's carrying on anyway. He's decided that he doesn't want to come in yet. We're only just right now at the halfway point. So a lot of drivers have already picked, considering that. Spectre comes in. Andy carries on. So Andy's finally got some clear air for the first time in quite a long time. So his option now really is carry on as long as possible. And if everyone else pits, comes into traffic with each other, it'll benefit you that way. If not, then he's got to do it the hard way on track. But at the moment it's Scanlon ahead of Steenstra, ahead of Tidswell, ahead of Winters, who's and then there's a big gap after that. Yeah, and Scanlon's just absolutely flying right now. Again, he's got a huge gap ahead of him to Fracas. He's overtaken Maura pretty easily by the looks of it. Spectre is still in the pits. It looks like he's starting to come out now. Maybe he might actually be ahead of Scanlon here. Let's go back to Scanlon. Scanlon's just coming through now. Scanlon is actually going to be comfortably ahead. But I think Spectre's actually going to be behind. Oh no, here comes Steenstra. Spectre's coming out of the pits now. It's not quite enough, and he gets this drive through anyway, so it doesn't even matter. But he did lose out to two of them. But he did overtake Andy Winters, though, on track. Andy just ahead of the leader trying to put a lap on him here. Freivogel coming into the pits. He's 6.7 seconds down at the moment. Morrow trying to put a lap on Andy. Andy not really wanting to get out of the way by the looks of it. And he's still stuck behind. There we go. 11 seconds the gap between the top two in the championship, Morrow and Weatherston. So this is really a big night for Morrow. Pole win, fastest lap, perfect race. Looks like it's on the cards. Freivogel's trying his hardest to do something about that. He's going for a bit of an undercut on his teammate. Yeah, comfortable for Freivogel. Comes in and comes out. Andy Cabras in the pits now as well. Capel in the pits. Salis carrying on. Oliver carrying on. Dandes carrying on. Sanchez still the highest. Bronze driver is carrying on as well. There we have Freddie in some lovely clear air ahead of Scanlon. He's gone for a massive undercut now, actually, on some of these other drivers. But Freivogel coming out. Freivogel is out of the pits and he's out in P5. So he's got quite a big gap on Freddie and a couple of drivers as well. Now everyone's filtered through. The gap is actually 3, 4, 5, 6. Just over 10 seconds on Freddie. Freddie has the clear air. Davey is in the pits now. So now we're going to see how this benefits Freddie Cabras potentially. This is the big battle. I think Morrow's comfortably going to come out back in P1 ahead of Freivogel. Net P1 I should say. And then Davey and Cabras were a little bit closer. Cabras has a massive undercut here. Potentially, if he's executed this well, he'll have track position and we will have that Ferrari ART 1, 2, 3 that I was predicting. Davey trying to spoil the party here. So, yeah, Morrow's already out. Up and away. Through goes Cabras around the final corner. Davey is just coming out of the pits now. He's going to be very slow. Freddie is going to be charging down. The gap definitely isn't that big, but it looks like Davey's... Yeah, he's through turn 1. He's maybe got 3 seconds, I would predict, on Cabras. He's not ahead of Freivogel. Freivogel's still ahead of him, which we'll see when the sector times get updated. So 25 minutes left. Still a few drivers who haven't made the pit stop, out of position. 3 of them are in the pits right now. Yeah, Davey's just got a 2.7 second lead on Cabras. And that, yeah, it's great news for Davey that he didn't get completely caught. He's not under any pressure and he's got the fresh tyres. He's got, yeah, he's just come out of the pits. He'll be all fired up, ready to extend that gap on Freddie. He's 8.5 behind Freivogel, it looks like, as well. Freivogel only 3 behind Morrow. That's massive. And was Morrow... did he just lose loads of time when he was trying to lap that car? Potentially. So... it's not over yet. The gap looks like it's shortening as well. It's actually under 3 seconds now for the first time in ages. Dandes in the pits now. He was leading in silver, but that's going to be Andy Cabras again, ahead of Stratton and Salis for silver. Erotico's down in 21st after his stop-go penalty. Spectre had a drive-through penalty. He's down in 16th. Scanlon, who's done a massive undercut on a lot of people, he's now, well, he's a net P5, so he's in the top 5. He's only 3.3 ahead of Andy Cabras. Tidswell and Steenstra and Andy Winters especially were the big losers in that pit window. Now that everyone's managed to get past Andy in the pits, whether it was the undercut or the overcut, he's just completely dropped like a stone. So he was definitely keeping everyone held back quite a lot there. And that's why there's a 19-second gap between Freddie Cabras and Scanlon right now. So it'll be interesting to see if that gap remains the same, which would mean that Scanlon was at the pace of the top guys, just stuck in traffic all this time and could have had so much more out of his day. But yeah, long way to go. Long way to go. Unfortunately, it's a sunny day. No chance of rain. See any close battles going on anywhere? Doesn't really look like it. Dandes and Tierney just separated by 0.6 of a second for the battle for P16. I think Dandes won, yeah, he did, he won bronze last season. And yeah, trying his luck out in silver. Tierney's been in silver for quite a while. Another drive-through penalty for Spectre this time. I think it was for track limits. So he's going to drop down even further. So like I said, track limit penalties are coming. There is our first track limit drive-through. Dandes looks like he's starting to gap Tierney now, so Tierney not really able to put up much of a fight at the moment. Spectre's in the pits now serving that drive-through, dropping further positions, so Sanchez through up into P14 now with that. Another top 15 for this bronze driver. He'll be very pleased with how today's going. Morrow's dropped to below 2.5 seconds ahead of Freivogel. There you can see Freivogel just coming through the final corner. It's going to start getting close at the front. I think Freivogel's got the pace at the moment. Definitely. Morrow had the pace in the first stint, and it looks like Morrow's got better grips of the second stint so far. Only 3 Ferraris in the top 4 now. I think we had 6 in the top 7. We got 4 in the top 7 now. Tidswell's dropped down. It even says I'm in a Ferrari. That's how dominant the Ferrari is. Cabras 2.8 behind Scanlon. So these two are fairly similar pace. They've dropped Tidswell a little bit now. Tidswell 3.3 behind them, and Steenstra 3.9 behind. So it looks like they're all in the right order when they were all jumbled up a little bit earlier. Andy's about a second a lap slower than these guys. Through goes Stratton up into P11, and Salis is up into P12 now. And there's our bronze leader. So come on guys, let's have some battling. Cabras putting a lap on that BMW behind him. Steenstra dropping behind Tidswell even more now. So Steenstra's had a mistake somewhere because Andy's closed the gap as well. Capel rounding out the top 10. He was in a big battle with a few of these guys, but he seems to be all on his own now. Might fancy his chances of catching Andy before the end of the race. It looks like he's got a little bit more pace than Winters does. Spectre, after his second drive-through penalty, is down in 18th now. Completely out of position here. Oh, look how wide he is. Maybe that's another warning. 3.3 behind Van Hall. He's definitely got the pace. There's a drive-through for Bayliss now, who's down in 20th. Last position in the top 20. He's going to drop a couple. Well, yeah, he's going to at least drop behind Maurer and Fracas. Everyone's still out on track though. Let's see what how many people are more than 2 laps down. It looks like just Blocker actually. Everyone else is on lap 22 or 23 as we speak. So, yeah, quite an uneventful race actually. Only a couple of people in the pits after the first lap. And one of them might have even been planned because Tierney's down in 16th, which is pretty much where you'd expect him to be, despite coming in at the end of lap 1. Weatherson 10.2 off the back of Freivogel. Freivogel's still slowly closing in on Morrow. 2.1 seconds now. He needs a little bit more. Oh, something's happened a little bit further back. I think that is just a lap being put on someone actually. He's just getting out of the way. Drive-through cleared for Bayliss. Let's see where he's come out. He's down. It's difficult to say because everyone's so spread out, and we won't see what position he's in until the next line, the next sector line. Drive-through, another drive-through, 227 now. That's Freivogel who's got a drive-through. Oh my goodness. Right, this changes everything now, doesn't it? He's potentially still going to be in the top 4 coming out of this. Because there's quite a big gap to Scanlon. There's a massive gap. He's coming in now. Davy's going to inherit P2. This is huge for the championship. This means that he's minimizing his points lost tomorrow, and he lives to fight another day. I did say they were coming. I didn't expect it to come to someone in the podium positions though. So Weatherston up into P2. Cabras is going to be up into 3rd. And the real question is Scanlon going to get him? I think he's a little bit too far back. He's going very slowly through the pit lane. It's not a stop-go penalty, crucially. So he is going to just drive straight out of the pits here. Scanlon is just coming around the final corner now. So Freivogel is out in a comfortable 4th, all on his own. He'll be absolutely kicking himself for losing that podium. Potentially a shot at winning the race as well. He was only 2 seconds behind. He's now 23. He's not 23 seconds behind. Let's see. What's the gap going to be to him and Cabras? It's going to be over 10 seconds, so this is going to be super difficult for him to get a podium at this point. 11.4 is his starting point. Morrow is just in absolute cruise control now, just on a Sunday drive. 12.4 seconds up the road from Weatherston, basically lapping half a second a lap quicker than Davey in this race. Supreme dominance so far. We've still got 14 minutes to go. And Freivogel was so quick that even with his penalty, he still comes out in P4. Andy Cabras is caught up to the back of Scanlon here. Scanlon looked like he went a bit wide at that corner as well. Now this one coming up, this is the one that will be giving them the penalties. These two well within the track limits there. I did see a couple of drivers go incredibly wide, which you can do. Keeps the momentum really well, and that is why it gets you a warning. So Scanlon coming under a lot of pressure from Andy right now. And it looked like a pretty solid exit there for Andy. The gap is 0.3 of a second. Aston Martin versus Ferrari right here. And the gap is still very small. If Cabras is brave, he could go for it. Closes the gap again. Now we'll get the dirty air through this next corner. Oh, yeah, completely out of position going the entry into the corner. Andy is being a bit clever here. He's putting his car in interesting positions, but Scanlon's reading it pretty well, not letting him intimidate him into any mistakes. They've got, I think Fracas they're coming up to lap right now. Yeah, the Fracas gets out of the way. Way out of the way. Freddie has not been able to keep up with Davey as well. So the gap out of the pits was 2.7 seconds. It's now grown to 4.2. So Davey in control of that. Looks like P2 is well on the cards for him. Scanlon feels like he has to defend down the straight. And comes back into the braking room. There's another drive-through penalty. This time it's for Fernandez. Shame, he was in the top 15 doing quite well, and that is going to be potentially dropping him outside the top 20 here. 7. Down into 19th or 18th. That's where it's going to drop him. So that's driving through penalty number 4 in the last maybe 5 minutes max. Tiswell definitely not able to keep up with the top 6 at the moment. Fracas and Mauro are having a nice little battle here, actually. Battle for P20. Both of them in BMWs. Actually, all the BMWs are very close together. So Dandes has cleared his drive-through. Let's see where he comes out. There is car number 23, which is Rotikos, I think. Going around the outside of turn 1. Dandes defends well. Rotikos not able to do it. So he's only dropped to 18th. Rotikos keeping up the pressure though. After his stop-go 30. He's struggled to make that much progress. He's only sitting in P19. Driver who's been qualifying in the top 10 quite consistently now. But common theme for the rookies, you find yourself not as high at the end of the race as you do in qualifying. Still finding his feet a little bit. Something's happened to Andy Cabras. He's 1 second now ahead of Titswell. That gap was about 6. There's blue flags coming out for Fracas. Titswell's going to have to negotiate that. Maybe cars are just losing a bit of time with all this traffic going on though. That is very possible. Fracas has to let him pass without coming under any more pressure from Mauro, but it looks like it's worked out well for Fracas there as well. So still holding on to P20. at the front. Scanlon has more breathing space, Cabras falling back to over 5 seconds behind, Tidswell 1.3 further back, and then there's another huge gap just to Steenstra on his own. So yeah, we're getting a good gauge of everyone's ultimate pace here, because it has turned, for a lot of it, into a bit of a testing session. People just putting in a lot of laps, but this is definitely not one. We've got Salis trying to get P11 off Stratton now. Stratton has driven the entire race with a damaged front and rear car, which will no doubt be costing him a lot of time. Probably stopped him from competing in the top 10, and he's struggling here against Salis. Salis trying to get a really solid result by overtaking this car for P11 and second in class as well, so it's quite an important one. If a tighter exit for Salis from that corner didn't let him get the right kind of slingshot out to propel himself alongside Stratton. Stratton getting a much better traction on the exit. 6 minutes and 52 seconds to go, guys. Let's go. Let's get some action. Did you hear what Formula 1 are doing with Monaco to make it a bit more exciting? And I think it's a great idea. Mandatory 2 pit stops. Should we do mandatory 2 pit stops in ACC? Would that make it a bit more exciting? I think so. It's just a shame. I'd probably say this every week, and everyone's probably like, shut the fuck up. But we definitely need compounds of tyres in ACC. It would just improve the racing so much. I know it's like to be realistic to the real life series, but even if it was just an option, you don't have to be 100% faithful to a series if it doesn't give you overtaking opportunities ever. I mean, come on. The car's damaged and he still can't do anything to get past him. Oh, here we go. He's gone wide. He's actually just handed the place to him. Well, I was asking for some action. There we go. Stratton, unfortunately, probably doesn't have the car under him to get that position back. The Porsche down to P12 now. And yeah, after all that, he just buckled under the pressure a little bit, went wide at a corner, and Salis got the position that way. And probably not going to look back now. There's another ART boy in the top 11. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the top 11. Not quite enough to be half of the top 10 unless someone ahead has an issue. Andy's starting to get caught by Capel now. 2.6 seconds is the gap between them two. I'm pretty sure the gap was much bigger. Capel was in the third group of cars in the first stint, and he's now nearly caught up to Andy, who was in the head of the second group. Freddie Cabras rounding for one of the final times. He is going to get his podium. Freivogel is closing the gap. It's just not going to be enough. He's 2.7 behind, and then he's got to try and get an overtake done as well. So this has been a very successful race for Freddie. Not had quite the pace of the top two ART boys, but he is going to finish in P3 overall. Davey, really solid driving, potentially getting the maximum out of the Lamborghini. Everyone's been saying this is a Ferrari track. The Ferrari is 10 seconds in front, so to get P2 with this many Ferraris is a pretty good result. And I think that probably the same could be said again for Scanlon. He's not made any mistakes here. Just the pace, the Aston hasn't been as quick, but he's still going to get a top 5 out of it. Quite a lot of drivers are going to finish on the lead lap, I think. We haven't had that many in a lot of our races. Yeah, Capel's under 2 seconds behind now, but again, it's probably just not going to be enough for Capel. Oops. So, something's happening in the battle for P5 again. Andy Cabras has closed back in on Scanlon. Scanlon was all on his own a second ago. He's definitely had an off somewhere. Because that gap was 5 seconds. And now he's going to have a really tricky end to the race here. Andy Cabras trying to make it 4 ART drivers in the top 5. It's very possible now. Freivogel right behind Freddie Cabras as well. It's all started to kick off now. Freivogel still comfortably ahead. We've got Andy Cabras off track. He's had an incident somewhere. Scanlon is carrying on. That is another incident for Andy Cabras in turn 1. He's going to lose that position to Tidswell now as well. So more positions lost for Andy. Drama at the end of the race. Very side by side. Tidswell just gets the position. And yeah, more damage to the front it looks like for Andy Cabras. That is going to be a disaster for him. Meanwhile, we've got Freivogel right up the back of Freddie Cabras. Trying his best to try and salvage a podium, but Freddie's not going to give up a podium very easily. It looks like we're going to get one more lap in after this one. Potentially 2. It's probably 2 actually. So Freddie has settled a little bit behind, ahead of, sorry, Freivogel. Freivogel looking a bit more comfortable now. No more drive-through penalties, actually. It's all started to settle down. Andy Cabras hasn't settled down. He's trying to get make his way past Tidswell here. He must be very frustrated now. Tidswell actually leaves the door open for him. Now he can try and pull alongside going into the final corner. No, nothing he can do. He then tries a late... Oh, there's no contact there, fortunately. And yeah, very close between these two coming down. And what about... Yeah, they've made it through turn 1. Let's see what's happening between Tidswell and Cabras. Is Cabras going to go for it? No, he can't go for it. And yeah, they make it through one piece that time. Freddie struggling here, losing some time to Davey as well in this battle with Freivogel. Freivogel trying his hardest and not able to spook Freddie in the same way some of these other drivers have been spooked out of positions today. Bit of a wide corner there for Tidswell. There is a very... Oh, the leader's finished. Mora's already finished the race. So congrats to him. Absolutely huge victory. We got Davey just rounding the final corner now. We got Cabras just ahead of Freivogel as well. So congrats to Davey. Another P2 this season. Freddie Cabras is going to get another podium as well. Solid season so far for the Ferrari boys. Freivogel, another race of what could have been, but he's making progress every single time. The consistency will come with a bit more perseverance, and yeah, just give it some more experience. In the end, Scanlon made a few mistakes himself, nearly allowed Cabras back into the fold, but he's going to come across the line and finish in P5. Tidswell, P6, decent result for his day. Cabras in 7th. We have Steenstra all on his own in P8. Was in the mix for the first half of the race, then after the pit stops was under no pressure at all. Then we got Andy Winters, did end up getting caught by Capel, but it wasn't enough to actually lose a position. He might have lost it on that lap, to be fair. And we only have 3 more drivers to finish their races. We got Salis in P11. We got Stratton in P12 with his damaged car, the entire race with a damaged car there. But he's done well. He's 3rd in class, just behind Salis and Cabras. Meanwhile, Sanchez won his class, Van Hall 2nd in class, and Fracas 3rd in class in the end. And there is our final race. finisher on the lead lap, Oliver. So, timetables. Morrow P1, Weatherston, Cabras, Freivogel, Scanlon, Tiswell, Cabras, Steenstra, Winters, and Capel in the top 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 Ferraris in the top 10, 7 in the top 11. Silver, Andy Cabras with a 27-second lead over Salis and 31-second lead over Stratton. Was never really in trouble there. Rotikos down in 6th in his class in the end. Burkhardt was our pole sitter down, finished at 6th in class as well. Sanchez in P1, Van Hall 26 seconds back, Varakas 51 seconds back, and Bayliss 56. Actually, they all finished on the same lap as well. So how many actually finished on the lead lap here? 13 on the lead lap. Actually, it wasn't as many as I thought it would be. But then 22 on the lead 2 laps. That is quite impressive. And then 1 just a further lap back, and then another one who struggled in the end. So there we go. Morrow's obviously got a massive championship lead now. And the same for Sanchez and the same for Cabras. Everyone who you expected to win in the classes absolutely did. So yeah, that's me done for another week. I'm not quite sure where we are next week. Let's have a look. We are in the Nürburgring, the GP circuit, so that'll be interesting. Hopefully there's some rain. So yeah, join me then. Thanks for watching. Bye.